All right, what is happening, Black people? Happy Saturday. I am coming to you live from Detroit, all the way back to Denver, where we have our guest today, our expert in the house, Jeff Vaden of Dynamic Fitness. So we're going to hope that we see if y'all come on into the room. Jeff has some good information. Listen, if you are an entrepreneur, which most of us tuning into this are, then what you know is it is difficult in our busy lifestyle to, really be intentional about our health and our wellness, the way that we eat, the way that we move our bodies. And so we have a health and fitness expert here to talk about what that looks like. So before we jump into that, I just want to welcome everybody to Black Dollar Saturday. Y'all know what it is. We are here every third Saturday in partnership with the Brother Jeff Network. We missed the Cultural Center. Hopefully we can be back after coronavirus world lets us meet again in person safely. And so with that being said, I got my girl Shay J back here. We are in Detroit doing some amazing things, and we got some great content that'll be coming out. So I want to tell y'all about the vision board party that is getting ready to come up. Listen, we all are sick and tired of 2020, and we can't wait for this year to be over. But we need to reimagine what 2021 looks like, and our vision board party is the spot to do it. Y'all know every year we have the vision board party. It is free for the community. We have several ways that you can get involved. If you want your own personal reimagine and execute kit, you can go ahead and get that, and we will send you all the supplies that you need to make an amazing vision board. It is going to be virtual. It is going to be awesome because that's what we are. We are a resilient community, and we find ways to stay connected no matter what. So I will have more information about that. But without further ado, we have Jeff Vaden of Dynamic Fitness. Now, if y'all have been following Shay or myself and you have seen some of our stories, then you know where we are at every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, getting our asses handed to us on a silver platter. And it's been amazing to just really see, some of you know my background is in the military, and it's been amazing. I didn't realize how weak my body had really gotten, just from having babies and not being as consistent in my workouts and doing little things here and there, but, not recognizing that my ability to run was diminishing very quickly. I could not do solid push-ups. Couldn't pull my body up. It was just really bad, y'all. It was really bad. And one thing I love about Jeff is he was like, don't worry about it. We're going to work on it. And so we've been consistently working on it. Not one day has he ever made me feel bad about the, condition in which I came, but instead it's all about the improvement that we're making. And so, so this is my amazing trainer, and I just wanted to bring him live to you here to talk about a lot of the things that we talk about all the time, which is how we get in shape, get fit, be healthy. And I think that's especially prevalent during not only coronavirus world, but also in general as entrepreneurs. So Jeff, why don't you tell us who you are, what you do, where we can find you, and the floor is yours.
All right. Well, I appreciate that introduction. I don't think I've ever been introduced in that way before, so I appreciate that. Those are like toot your own horn type of introduction. So Jeff Vaden, I am the founder and head trainer at Dynamic Fitness Co. We're located in the 5 Points neighborhood here in Denver. We have been in that location for 4 years, close to 4 years, but Dynamic Fitness Co. as a fitness movement has been around for nearly 12 years. And I came to fitness from a background in athletics, sports, specifically football and track and field at a collegiate level. When I finished doing that, I went into working with young men that were incarcerated at a juvenile detention facility, doing life management or group counseling. And one of the things that I noticed about these young men was that anytime we were doing therapy work, discussing their mental health or their family situations, when they did that with fitness or did that in conjunction with fitness, I always seemed to get a little bit more out of them. I got a little breakthrough with those young men. And so it was really important for me to use my knowledge in fitness and nutrition to help people on all levels, not just those young men at that time. So a little bit over 11 years ago, Dynamic came to be as a boot camp in a park. We started off with about 10 people who some of them still support us to this day. And we have slowly grown into our own brick and mortar and our own community. So we focus on functional fitness and whole foods nutrition, and getting the most out of people on our daily with that. So that's kind of how I came to focusing on fitness and nutrition as a whole. Now, when it comes to being an entrepreneur, I feel like I've been an entrepreneur since the time I was a little child, when I used to buy the dollar bags of candy. For those of you who are from the Montbello neighborhood, you remember Crown Market. Used to go in there and buy 2 bags for $1 of candy, and I would break those bags down and sell them for about $1 a piece. And so that entrepreneurial spirit has been with me since I was very young, through lawn mowing businesses and snow shoveling businesses and all of that. And so it only made sense for me to continue to work in that way in my own passions through fitness and nutrition up until now. Maybe that's partly because I don't want to have to work on anybody else's schedule, but it's been fun so far. Or maybe it's because I'd rather have 60 bosses than just one. Either way it goes. But we're here today to talk about nutrition and how nutrition and fitness and a healthy lifestyle can really benefit you, us, in our entrepreneurial adventures there. And not just for entrepreneurs, but for everyone, all of us who are trying to make it through this world these days. There's a lot of mental health that is being affected by what's happening, the political situations, the coronavirus situations, and then just our daily lives of go, go, go. We live in a country where it's expected that we're always producing. And when we're not producing, we're looked down upon for that. And so what I want to do is talk to you today about how a whole foods diet can play into helping you be more productive, with mental health in mind, keeping ourselves, up and functioning. But really, as entrepreneurs, our bottom line is to produce, is to get more using less. And so pretty simply, we use a program called the Dynamic Nutrition Program. We run that program about 3 times a year out of the facility, and you can find information on that on our website, www.dynamicfitness.co. You can also write us on social media, Instagram @TrainDynamic. Okay, so you can find all the information about that at those places. But let's jump right into it. So what is whole foods? What is a whole foods diet? That's basically what we're going to talk about to start here. What is a whole foods diet and why is it important for our physical and mental health? Okay, whole foods nutrition is another way that I explain that. So hopefully you all can see my screen here. So we talk about whole foods nutrition, or a whole foods diet, as a way of eating, not so much a diet. But when I say the term diet, I'm really talking about a way of eating, or a process of feeding ourselves. So just something to think about. I'm gonna give you two visuals here as something to think about. And here in the U.S., these statistics that are up are a couple years old. They're from 2017, so not that long ago, but not yesterday. So 35% of all U.S. adults are overweight or obese right now, and so that's telling us quite a bit, right? More than a third of us are overweight and obese. Now, this doesn't take into account bone density and muscle density, so I understand that sometimes that kind of stuff can throw us off a little bit. I mean, on a BMI chart, I'm considered overweight. And I'm an athlete that's in great shape right now. So I understand that sometimes these numbers can be a little skewed, but that doesn't take away from the rapid increase in the numbers that we've experienced in obesity and overweight in our country over the last 30 years, which you can see is 170% increase. Us being overweight or obese plays into a lot of things. And one of those things in the Black community that it plays into heavily is mental health. When we're talking about depression and anxiety and ADHD and those things that are starting to be seen in our kids, like autism spectrum disorders, things like this are played into by this as well. So it's one thing to look at with that. And This second screen here is showing us some of the numbers, some of the percentages. More than 13% of the U.S. population that identifies as Black or African American is having some sort of mental health issues. Right? That's a lot. That's a lot of us that are dealing with mental health issues. And I know for us entrepreneurs, it's probably even a higher percentage when we look at what happens on a daily basis as us just being go-getters, right? We oftentimes ignore the symptoms and the signs of depression, anxiety, restlessness, and not being able to sleep, things like this. We put that off as just, hey, we've got work to get done, when really it's some mental health issues going on. And so all of these things can be solved not just by talking to a mental health professional, which should be your first step, but also by paying attention to what you're putting into your body. What kind of food are we eating? Are we drinking enough water? Do we have a basic exercise program? So through this talk today, what I want to do is make sure that we answer these questions or hit these goals for the day. And I want you to have, when you leave here, a better understanding of what whole foods nutrition is, or what a whole foods way of eating is. And two, how do we use a whole foods way of eating or a whole foods diet to improve our overall health, our mental health, and our productivity, especially amongst entrepreneurs? How do we use this as a tool in our tool bag, along with our network and all those other things that we use on a daily basis? How do we use this food in the way that we eat as a tool to increase our productivity, getting more out of less time, right? So first thing we need to do really is cover the basics of nutrition. Like, how many of us actually understand the true basics of nutrition and what it is? It can be as complex or as simple really as we want to make it. And I was always told that if you can't explain something to a fifth grader, then you probably don't understand it that well yourself. You probably don't know that much about it. And so what I'm going to do is try to explain the basics of nutrition at a very, very low level that everyone can understand. Because when we start to get out into the weeds of all of the molecular structures of foods and things, we oftentimes get bogged down with stuff that doesn't matter for your everyday person. And it can become overwhelming. So what we're going to not do is go into the weeds very far. We're going to stay on the main highway of nutrition, and we're going to cover those things that really can get you the biggest bang for your buck when it comes to improving both your productivity and your mental health on a daily. Okay. So when we're talking whole foods nutrition, we break things down really into macronutrients and micronutrients. Pretty simple, right? These are the building blocks of food. This is what we put into our bodies. And we hear these terms thrown around all the time: carbs, proteins, fats, carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. But a lot of times people don't know what they actually mean or where they're coming from. Carbohydrates, pretty simple. They are sugars. Those can be coming from grains. Those can be coming from fruits and vegetables. Any plant-based foods basically are carbohydrates. Anything made from plant-based foods is going to be in the carbohydrates. Okay. Proteins are going to be the building blocks of the body, right? That's what we build tissues out of. That's what we make hormones out of. That is what we make all kinds of different structures out of, is proteins. Those are going to come from either plants or from animals. And then we have fats. And fats by far the most important macronutrient for the function of your body. I mean, our brain is 60% fat. We need water and we need fat for our brain to function properly. And so you can get fats from both animals and from plants as well. So those are our macronutrients. They're pretty simple. That's what makes up a good diet, is a combination of those things. And we want to make sure that we're getting enough of all of them in our diet to be able to support not just health, but also thriving. We want to be able to thrive using those things. Micronutrients. Micronutrients aren't something that you can really pinpoint. You're going to get micronutrients through eating your macronutrients. So that's going to be all of your minerals and vitamins. When we're talking vitamins, there's both water-soluble vitamins and fat-soluble vitamins. We won't get into the details of all of those because if you're eating a balanced whole foods diet, you're going to get plenty of your micronutrients in there. Okay. But For reference, these are what some of them are. Some of the ones that we've heard most about: vitamin C, it's going to be water soluble. Vitamin D is going to be a fat soluble vitamin, along with all the other minerals that we'll need. So we hear this all the time, that we are what we eat, and that is true. We are what we eat, but we are also what we can digest into the body, absorb, and then assimilate into our cells. So not only are not only what we eat, but we are also what we can create from, right? What are our cells actually made from? That comes down to digestive health. So our digestive system, or our gut, as we like to call it, is going to be not just your intestines in the body, but also your mouth, your esophagus, your stomach, small intestine, large intestine. Those are all part of the digestive system, the digestive tract, and they all play a role in how well your body functions physically and mentally. So when we're talking about the food that we eat, we have to be able to digest that food. So break it down into its individual molecules, nutrients, absorb those molecules, nutrients into the cells, take them through the bloodstream, and then deposit them into the cells that they need, and allow those cells to then use them properly to either build up the body or detox the body, create new hormones, create new, whatever it may be that we're trying to create on that at that time for our body to function properly. That is all a piece of digestion. So yes, we are what we eat, but we are also what we can digest, absorb, and assimilate. And really that brings us into the place that this happens. And this is where we can improve our physical health, our mental health, is through digestion. Okay, so the gut microbiome is really an organ. We call it an invisible organ in the body. It's made up of bacteria, like 70 trillion cells of bacteria living in your body. More bacterial cells living in your body than there are actually human cells living in your body. And those bacterial cells are helping to break down, digest the food that we eat, ferment it, create different molecules from that, and then feed it throughout the body. Okay? So this is where we're creating our brain chemicals. 90% of all brain chemicals are created in the digestive tract. This is where we're creating our hormones. This is where we are taking our proteins and fats and putting them into cells and moving them all around the body. So the digestive tract and having a healthy digestive system really is important for being able to have a healthy body. Okay? When we are eating the food that we should be eating, which we're going to go into and cover here in just a moment, when we're eating the food that we should be eating and we have a healthy digestive system, they feed off of each other. Our gut microbiome, the bacteria that lives in our gut, is fed off of proper foods, and that then feeds our body, allows us to do things like build muscle, like function properly. When our brain is functioning properly, our behaviors are spot on, and when our behaviors are spot on, our brain will function properly and our bodies will function properly. So by having that healthy gut, what we're doing is we're allowing the food that we're eating, when it's good food, to feed itself, or to feed the bacteria in our gut, and those bacteria then in turn give us a healthier body. So they're feeding off of each other. Okay. So when I'm talking about healthy whole foods and feeding the body, we really have to look at the history of our food guides in the U.S. and what we've been told is healthy. So when we start looking at these food guides that we've been told are the way that we should be eating, or the healthy way to eat here in the U.S., there's a lot of disconnect between traditional cultures around the world and what the standard American diet says that we should be eating. Standard American diet is oftentimes abbreviated as SAD, and it is. It's very sad what that diet has done to the health of this country. When you look at the 33% of, or 35% of overweight adults and those suffering with mental health issues in this country, we can directly link that to the increase in industrial seed oils, factory farmed food, processed refined food, we have direct correlations between the increase in processed refined food in this country and disease, whether that be obesity or heart disease, increase in heart disease, or mental health. And when we look at this timeline of food guidelines, we can see how that took place. Long story short, the food guidelines or the food pyramids that we have learned to feed ourselves from were actually just a shortcut that the U.S. government, the USDA, had to take in order to feed people. Louise Light, who was a scientist, was tasked with creating the very first food pyramid guide, and she did a great job of that. It was a whole foods guide that gave everyone equal amounts of healthy foods from non-processed sources. And when the USDA got that guide, they basically said, "Thank you, we can't use this," and put out something of their own, which reflected the 1992 food guide pyramid, which was heavy in processed refined carbohydrates, like 6 to 8 servings of grains or cereals, rice, things like that. Some fruits and vegetables, not always fresh. Little to no healthy fats from saturated sources. And when that happened, when we saw that decrease in healthy fats from good sources, and decrease in fresh vegetables, fresh fruits, and an increase in processed refined grains, our disease in this country exploded. What our healthy whole foods diet should look a little bit more like is something like this, a model food guide, which is we really should be eating minimal to no grains or food from cereals, pastas, things like that, minimum to none, unless it's prepared properly, okay? Sourced and prepared properly, foods there. We should be eating fruits and fruits from a concentrated or in a low concentration, and only in whole sources, so not juicing them, taking in all of the fruit. We should be eating proteins and fats in their saturated form coming from animals, and you'll get some protein and fat from plants too, but it's a little bit harder to digest. So if we're looking for the easiest source of food, the most bioavailable source of food, that should be coming from pasture raised and not factory farmed animals, not factory fished animals. And then we should be eating an abundance of organic leafy greens, organic fruits and vegetables there that are in their whole food form, not processed, refined, packaged, canned, not from those places. We should be eating them in their full form. And when we follow a model guide like this, a whole foods diet, we tend to see that the body can pull out what it needs because the gut becomes healthy. We don't feed bad bacteria in the digestive system. We tend to increase the amount of good bacteria in the digestive system that then feeds our brain. It also, it feeds our brain and our body. And when I'm talking about feeding the brain, we're talking about creating the 90% of the neurotransmitters that we need in our bodies to actually function. These are just two examples, some really easy examples of the types of neurotransmitters or brain chemicals that we have happening, and how they rely upon food that we eat. So you can see in this one, tryptophan. Tryptophan is found in things like eggs and turkey. That's probably the most popular form of source of tryptophan, is in turkey and Thanksgiving dinner. You can see that tryptophan turns into another chemical, 5-HTP, which then is turned into serotonin. Most of us know the name serotonin, or the molecule serotonin. It's used for, it's kind of the happy chemical that goes in our brain, but it also helps to regulate our appetite and our emotions, our motor functions, all of those things. Serotonin then, when flowing through the body, then becomes another brain chemical, which then becomes melatonin, which regulates sleep. Well, if you're not eating enough tryptophan, then you're not going to get enough serotonin, which means you're not going to get enough melatonin. So just very simply, if you're not eating good whole foods from good sources, prepared in the proper way, you don't make enough of those brain chemicals in the gut to support happiness, to support sleep, to support more motor functions, all of those things. Another one is going to be tyrosine, which is an amino acid there. You're not going to be able to make dopamine, which is going to affect your motivation. It's going to affect your ability to learn, your ability to process pain, those sorts of things. And dopamine eventually flowing through the system becomes epinephrine, which is adrenaline. So your ability to understand danger, things like this, are affected by not eating healthy whole foods. And there's hundreds, literally hundreds of other brain chemicals that are affected by the food that we put into our bodies. So practical, how do we go about using this information to understand how that affects the body? Well, if you're eating food that is not grown organically, it's grown with pesticides or herbicides. Well, now your fruits and vegetables are going to have all kinds of other toxins on them that are going to attack the gut lining. One of the biggest ones that we see there is Roundup, the weed killer Roundup. It creates holes in the gut. We call it leaky gut syndrome or gut permeability. It creates holes there which allow food to pass through the digestive system without being fully digested, which means that we don't pull out all the nutrients that we need fully to be able to create the brain chemicals or the tissues that we need in our body. When you have meats that are grown or raised on factory farms, they're being fed chemical based grains. So if you're eating beef that's raised on a feedlot that is eating corn, that corn is also grown with sprays and all kinds of different. Glyphosate is the scientific name for Roundup. So it's being grown with Roundup or glyphosate. The cows then eat that. They are not healthy. We then eat unhealthy cow or pig or chicken or whatever other food that you may want to eat, when instead a better option would be eating pasture raised foods that don't have any of those chemical bases in them. And so when we're eating food like this that is organic and is prepared properly and raised properly, we can pretty much assume that the first step in improving our gut health is going to be taken care of. We're going to eat those foods that really help the biome to grow and flourish in a proper way. So that is how a whole foods diet can start to improve on the mental health of all people, not just us entrepreneurs. But how it truly affects entrepreneurs is we are people who heavily rely on our motivation. We are people who heavily rely on being in a clear head, or who also rely on maybe less sleep and being able to learn quickly. So all of the things that are affected in your typical entrepreneur, their ability to get up and go get it, are going to be affected by what we put into our digestive system. So even more than just your typical person who goes to work and punches a clock and just does the same thing every day, we have to have functioning brains. We have to have brains that function properly and are running on top all the time. And so really important for us as entrepreneurs to have a healthy gut biome that is fed with whole foods. So these are the 10 steps that I usually will take. And these 10 steps are the way that we also go through the dynamic nutrition program to get people to improve their gut health and improve their general health. And especially for entrepreneurs, these 10 steps are really going to be the way to go about it. So I'll go through these and give you all of the information that I possibly can on it. So our number one will always be more water. That's going to always be one. Water is very important for every function in the body, every single cell. good filtered water. If you can get a reverse osmosis filter to put into your home, that's a great way to do it. If you can just get yourself a basic Brita water filter, that is step one to improving health. If you can do nothing else on this list, do that. Drink good filtered water. And secondly, less soft drinks, so less sugar. We're going to try to decrease added sugar in the diet as much as we possibly can. For one, it is going to attack the gut biome. It's going to feed negative bacteria. It's not going to allow your body to properly produce brain chemicals like it should. And so we want to cut out that added sugar. If you're looking to sweeten something, your basic honey, cane sugar is an okay thing to use, but honey or agave is probably the best option. And we really shouldn't be having a huge need to add that much sugar to our diet anyway. Okay. Number two, improve your gut health. That's a huge subject, but those two things, 1 and 2, drinking more water and improving your gut health, are amazing ways to get more productivity out of your day. Some simple steps to improving your gut health: doing a cleanse, for one. So taking out sugar, alcohol, processed refined foods, industrial seed oils, those things that cause damage to the gut lining are going to be step one. And adding in foods that feed the gut biome, like fermented foods. That's going to be your sauerkraut, kimchi, real pickles, things like that, that feed that bacteria. Those are always great ways to do it. As well as maybe taking a supplement that can help with your digestive system there too. Okay? 3, eating properly sourced and prepared foods. We talked about that with the whole foods diet. Properly sourced foods are going to be fruits and vegetables that are GMO free, that are organic. Properly sourced meats are going to be from pasture raised or farm raised or wild caught fish. Farm raised eggs are not going to be as good as pastured eggs, things of that sort. And I fully understand that eating organic is not accessible for everybody. I understand that eating grass-fed meats is not accessible for everybody, and that budgets are a real thing. But doing what you can in that area is far better than doing nothing. If you cannot eat organic fruits and vegetables every day, then aim at getting pasture-raised meats and eggs, because the bulk of your nutrients can come from that, and you can use the fruits and vegetables for other things. So there are ways to do it even on a very slim budget. Eating properly sourced foods. Properly prepared foods means returning to traditional ways that food should be prepared. If your grandparents are still alive, ask them how they cook food, and you pretty much got it right there. Things like preparing beans or legumes as a whole should be soaked for 12 to 24 hours and prepared with a saturated fat and an acid. Grains should be soaked. There's lots of different ways to prepare foods. Meat should be slow cooked. We should be preparing foods in ways that nourish the body and don't just get the food on the table quickly. 4 here is eating a diet that closely resembles the human constitution and supplementing as needed. What that means is that we're eating a diet that is going to support what we as human beings need. We need a diet that is high in saturated fat and protein. We do not need a diet that is high in carbohydrates. There's no research that says that we need to eat an abundance of carbohydrates in order to be healthy, but there is research that shows us that we need to eat an abundance of fat and protein to be healthy. So that's what we want to do is have a lower carbohydrate, higher fat diet that is going to nourish our brain, which is 60% fat, and our body, which is also high in fat. Okay? 5 is to practice intermittent fasting. This is really great for those of you who have digestive issues to start on a fasting program. What it allows us to do is give the body a chance to heal the digestive system. So as we're putting in healthier foods and we're putting in higher quality foods, we also need to give our gut a chance to heal from the damage that we've done to it in the past. Fasting helps us do that. Fasting gives us an opportunity to shed old cells from our gut lining and create new ones. And so we want to take some time to fast in there. There's different programs that you can do. There's the pretty well-known 8x16 intermittent fast. Basically, you eat all of your meals in a day within an 8-hour period and you fast for 16. But there's also the 14-10 method. There's the 12-12 method. There's a lot of different ways that you can fast. And really, you just need to figure out what works best for you, your digestive system, and your mental health. The next key to it, or the next step to it, I utilize is the Pomodoro technique. This is a timing system that I use that is more action-based. A lot of us, especially entrepreneurs, get stuck in our work and we just go. And we feel like every minute of the day that we're not working is a wasted minute. When really, if we were to structure our day a little bit better around a time schedule, we would most likely get more done. So the Pomodoro technique is a 20-minute work, 5-minute break system that allows us to work diligently. We're not looking at our cell phone. We're not checking emails. We're not doing anything except for what we sat down to do for 20 minutes. And we're focused on that. And then we take a 5-minute break. We do that for 4 rounds, okay, 4 rounds of time. If you have to set a timer on your phone or on a clock somewhere in the house to be able to do that, then you should. And what it's going to allow you to do is focus intently on what you're doing and then give your brain a break. Sometimes trying to focus too hard for too long is more detrimental to the work that you're doing. And that's one of those things that is really hard on mental health, is feeling like you're not getting enough done because you're just staring at the same screen all day. So utilizing a timer system for productivity and efficiency can really be a step in the right direction there. Okay? Not around the nutrition or mental health side, but doing strenuous activities every day, exercise, work out, go for a bike ride, take a run, do something that is more than walking. Walking is great, and for the person who is sedentary in their lifestyle, starting with walking is good. But when you already have an active lifestyle, doing something more every day is going to help your body to do a whole lot of different things, as well as release more of those brain chemicals and produce more of those brain chemicals that will help us to function better. There's just countless amounts of benefits to exercising strenuously on a daily or semi-daily basis. And then after you've done all that strenuous exercise, the next thing is recover more. Now, I know that when we're talking about neurotransmitters and brain chemicals, we talk about regulating sleep. Melatonin is one of the main ones there. Well, recovering through sleep and through rest is just as important as eating the right foods and all these things. And they all play into each other. So it's really necessary that we are recovering by getting enough sleep. 5 hours of sleep is not enough, entrepreneurs. I know that we will say, well, I can work on 3, 4, 5 hours of sleep, but it's just not enough. How much more work could you get done during the day if you were well rested and not struggling? So really need to ask yourself that question. The next one is limiting self-medications, whether that's drinking or smoking or whatever it may be. However you choose to self-medicate may not be necessary if you take a little bit more time and take a little more care into the food that you eat. We wouldn't feel like we need to medicate ourselves in order to get through the day, or to end the day, to cap the day off with something like a drink, if we're eating healthy foods that are benefiting our gut biome. We wouldn't feel like we need that at the end of the night. Now, if you choose to self-medicate because you enjoy it and you want to, that's different from those who are using it as a crutch. And then the last one is living an active lifestyle. We can't just work. We can't work ourselves to death. If we don't live an active and adventurous lifestyle, like what are we really being entrepreneurs for. We do this for the freedom of it. We do this for the ability to have something that we're proud of and provide for our families. But if we're not taking the time out to live an adventurous lifestyle and be active, then there's no point in being an entrepreneur if you can't enjoy the fruits of it. So those really are the 10 steps to living a healthier lifestyle with mental health in mind through these. As we attack this time of year, mental health becomes more and more important. And so using these 10 steps to help us improve our mental health is really going to be important during this time of the year. Okay? If there are any questions that you guys have about these 10 steps or any of this information, please feel free to reach out to me via social media. Like I said, Instagram @Train Dynamic. Facebook is also @Train Dynamic.
Nadira says, can eating this way cause high cholesterol or clogged arteries? How does that happen?
Okay, great question, Nadira. Thank you for asking that. No, it cannot cause high cholesterol and clogged arteries. That is a misconception, and that comes from the 1960s. And really, that information is far outdated. What we do know is that high cholesterol and clogged arteries come from inflammation in the body. Inflammation is one of the reasons that we send cholesterol to certain places in the body. So if we can draw this mental picture for a moment, okay? We have an artery and it has a tear in it. It has a damaged place in there. There's an injury. And we need cholesterol because cholesterol is the backbone of many of our cells. We need fat and cholesterol to be able to heal that space. Well, the body sends cholesterol to that space to heal it. But because we continue to do damage through oxidation and through eating foods that send free radicals through the body, we continue to damage that same spot. And our body is wanting to heal, so it keeps sending cholesterol to that same spot to heal it. But we keep damaging it. So what ends up happening is that we build up this callus over it, this calcium deposit over that, because we just won't stop creating inflammation in the body. The easiest way to stop having that buildup or that cholesterol blockage is to stop eating foods that damage the body. We need to stop eating foods that create inflammation, and those foods tend to be processed and refined foods. What are the foods that are often processed and refined? Those are grains and sugar-laden sweets and things like that. Those are the foods that cause heart disease. Those are the foods that cause damage to the body.
Thank you. So hopefully that answered your question. I do have a question also. So, we hear a lot about, you talked about food preparation, and I think that's super important. What are some things that entrepreneurs can do? And not necessarily just entrepreneurs, but, like I said, this is the crowd that we're talking to predominantly, those that are in business ownership. And as you alluded to, when it comes to sleep and food preparation and even just the types of things that we should be eating, obviously it takes a little bit more footwork on the front end. Do you have any tips or suggestions that entrepreneurs can utilize to kind of help them through developing some of those healthier habits in a way that doesn't feel heavy?
Sure. So one of the methods that we use in the dynamic nutrition program is for one, food prepping. So prepping meals for 2 or 3 days, not trying to prep meals for an entire week. That can become overwhelming. But prepping meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or at least having a menu so that when you do go grocery shopping, you're getting meals and not just random bits of food at the grocery store. You're putting together meals that you're going to be able to eat and feed a family if you have a family on. And then also just being prepared with having those foods in your home. So in our dynamic nutrition program, we provide a pantry checklist. So these are certain foods that you should always have in your pantry. We provide recipes and food guidelines. And we also give you some ideas for food prep. How do we buy 5 things and make 5 different meals from those foods? So being able to utilize time more efficiently, or as I like to say, be more productive in our time with our nutrition. That's really the best way for entrepreneurs to get on top of this, is to maybe, for one, back off about how detailed or how extravagant of a meal they want to eat, and instead have some simple meals with things that you can prepare in bulk, package those up, put them in the fridge, and be able to eat them. Another piece of that too is, mentally, we may have to come away from believing that we can eat 5-star meals at every meal, and instead just nourish our bodies sometimes.
Don't talk about me and Shay, Jeff. Don't talk about us.
So not every meal has to be a 5-star meal. Sometimes it's just about feeding our systems, right? Sometimes that's all it needs to be. Food can be entertainment, and food can be enjoyment, and food can be culture, and food can be all of those things. But it can also just be fuel.
Absolutely. That's good. We have another question also. I heard doing strenuous exercise can tire the body and make it difficult to repair and wear you out. How do we guard against that exhaustion of working out strenuously?
That's a good question. Well, on my checklist here, the one that still should be up for y'all to see, number 7 is strenuous activities, doing more strenuous activities. Number 8 is recover more. So for every day that you're out doing strenuous activity, you're resting, you should be spending double that amount of time recovering. I'm not asking folks to work out more than an hour in a day. 30 minutes of strenuous activity is plenty. Well, if you've done 30 minutes of strenuous activity and you go to bed on time, we'll say, as an entrepreneur, realistically around 11:30, maybe midnight, and you sleep till 7 a.m., well, that should be enough to recover if you're eating the correct diet. If you're eating a diet full of whole foods that are nutrient dense, your body should be able to recover. All of these pieces are building blocks, and they have to be put together. If you are working out hard, but you're not drinking water, you're not resting, you're not eating properly, and you're stressing, then yeah, that's not going to work for you. But if you're working out hard and you're doing all of those other things, you have a better chance of being able to recover with less sleep.
That's good. And I think that's something that entrepreneurs as a whole kind of understand, is that, there's never one thing or another, right? It's a combination of things that create that success. And most importantly, on top of all of that is our ability to be disciplined in that. So doing it more days than not. So thank you for that. We also have another question about veganism. What about veganism?
Specifically, what about veganism? There's a lot of different reasons to become vegan or vegetarian. That's a way of eating. I have my own personal thoughts on it as far as nutrition goes. If you choose to be a vegan or a vegetarian, mostly vegan, you should be supplementing. There should be a B12 supplement in there. There should be a vitamin D supplement there, because those are not nutrients you can get from plant foods. You should also be getting enough sunlight, sunshine there, and you should be supplementing with as many of the saturated fats as you can. It is a doable way of life, but I won't say that it's a way that you can thrive.
All right. Thank you. I don't see any more questions in the chat, but this has been, a lot of really amazing information. I think it's important for us to, I'm going to bring myself back on camera here. Important for us to, I think I'm gonna bring my boom. All right. I think it's important for us to, really understand the dynamics of how our bodies work, right? Because I think that helps us understand how and why we need to make the types of choices that we need to make. And I think one of the things that we see is as you begin to see entrepreneurs that have reached some, significant level of success, I think we begin to see that they make these types of shifts that begin to focus more on their sleep, more on their health, more on some of those things that you're talking about in this space. And I think a good part of that is because the more that you grow in personal development and the more that you grow in your, sphere of success, you begin to see that there are certain key elements that exist kind of across the board. And being able to take care of our health is certainly one of them. Right now with the Righteous Rage Institute, H-Soul is also running a 90-day health challenge. Dr. Ryan Ross has talked about our ability to stay healthy, and you alluded to that also, right? Like you do all this work as an entrepreneur and then you're not necessarily around to enjoy it. So, we're committed to having more of these conversations. I think here in Detroit, we've had an opportunity to interview some amazing entrepreneurs that are in this space of health and wellness, mental health, physical health. And we're going to have to keep digging in because I think sometime inside of our community, we feel like these things are not necessarily for us. And there's kind of this segment of people that are coming around, and so we see it more often. But how do we incorporate this into our everyday lives? And then how do, as entrepreneurs and leaders in our community, do we infuse these principles and these values out to those that we influence? So I will let you close out with, actually, before you close, I will let you close out the last word. Did you have something else?
No, I was gonna I agree. I totally agree with you that there's so much information in this, and I oftentimes find myself just rambling on about all of the details of nutrition and lifestyle and health because we could go on for hours and hours and hours about individual subjects. And so sometimes just condensing it into enough is even more difficult. And like I said at the beginning of this, if you can't explain it to a fifth grader, you probably don't know it that well. So being able to condense all of this, this is probably 10 years worth of information into this amount of time, and getting that message across is very tough. So what I want to do is just say, this is the message that we want to get across. Eat food that has been grown, or if you're someone who likes to eat animals, grown or killed by hands of people, that is prepared in ways that will nourish the body. Drink water, do activity, get sunlight, love on the people who love on you. And that's really the easiest way to improve your health as a whole and your mental health as an entrepreneur.
Absolutely. And I think, it helps us to think more clearly as well. Many of us are out here trying to build empires and create, legacies, right? And I think that the ability to think clearly when we're doing that, to be able to be focused for extended periods of time, and really just be on our A game and embody the idea of Black excellence. I want to encourage everyone. I dropped the links earlier on to visit Dynamic Fitness, either on Instagram and or his website. Sign up for the nutrition program. It has some amazing things in there. As he mentioned, it does have a pantry list, recipes, things that you can do, tips and tricks, but also education to help inform you so that not only can you be informed, but also you can pass that on, to your children, to your family, and to others that you love, and to be that example in this space. And so I do want to remind everyone that we have our vision board party coming up. So make sure you head over to bbiprofessional.com to grab your tickets. You can, we will be live streaming the vision board party. Again, the vision board party is always free, y'all. Y'all can get in at no cost and stream with us. But also, if you want your own kit, meaning you want all of your supplies, all the things that we normally would provide if we were meeting here in person before coronavirus world, you can grab that as well. And Jeff, give us your last takeaways.
Like I said, I think that the biggest takeaways from this are, once again, eating a whole foods diet, sourced and prepared properly, drinking enough water, getting enough sleep, focusing on loving on those who love on you. And that's really the best way to improve your health. Go check out Instagram @Train Dynamic. Ask me any questions that you want to there. I don't have any problem with sharing the knowledge.
All right. And if you're in the Denver area, make sure that you check out his gym. It is a Black-owned gym in the 5 Points. So that's amazing. And you can come in and check out his workout regimens. His dynamic fitness program is amazing. I am a personal testament to that. And we thank you, everyone, for joining us in here on this Black Dollar Saturday. We will be back in December after the Vision Board Party. So make sure you grab your tickets before then. And until next time, we will see you later.